Welcome here to the Blue Couch. It's a great honor to have you here. Thank you.
For having me to this blue couch.
The security situation in Indo-Pacific region has changed the recent years.
Yes.
And does China's behavior in expanding its influence follow a long-term strategy? And what does that mean for the region, for the security in the region?
That is a problem with understanding about China. China's regime has always been very opaque. There's no transparency mechanism. Decision making process is always kept in the dark. There's no check and balance power. There's no opposition parties. Well, virtually there's no check and balance mechanism in China. So we don't really know any decisions, including their decision to reposture in the South China Sea is a part of a strategic planning, or it's just an accidental decision. But what we can confirm is that, first of all, from Chinese perspective, all these military postures and assets in the South China Sea extend China's security parameters to the South China Sea. And also the benefits is that by creating this tension in South China Sea, China will be able to distract diplomatic allies, including US, Australia, and Japan. And they were able to create bargaining chips for China to negotiate, not only with US and Japan, Australia, but also with some of the Southeast Asian countries. And in the case of a potential conflict between China and US, and all these assets in the South China Sea also provides China with a better positioned military positions against this potential military conflict. So you can see from a Chinese perspective, they are seeing all the benefits of having a better position in terms of China's overall security strategy. Certainly it comes with costs. All these military and security postures in the South China Sea creates tensions between China and many of the Southeast Asian countries. The Philippines, for example, Vietnam, Malaysia, and even Indonesia are in a constant dispute with China. Right? But apparently, I think China's calculations that these countries have always counting on China economically, and you know the size is so, the differences in size is so significant that you know they believe all these smaller Southeast Asian countries will never push back against China. Right? So anyway, the conclusion is that it is a conscious movement. They change the security status in the Indo-Pacific region, and that creates further pressure for countries, democratic countries, to be united together against this expansionism from authoritarian regime or authoritarian China government.
Because you mentioned the democratic countries, how does the renewed, if it can be called such a renewed alliance, Russia, China, North Korea, impact the democratic countries, democratic states in this region, and what measures should be taken?
There are at least 3 areas where this alliance of authoritarian regimes produce direct impacts on democratic camp. First of all, on a very technical level, the alliance between China and Russia reduced the effectiveness of sanctions, economic, technology, and other sanctions against Russia. Because through China being one of the largest buyers of Russia's commodities, that provides Russia with the financial capacity to sustain this invasion, aggression against Ukraine. And China continued to work with Russia in many of the areas where China claim is exporting of those products are for commercial use, but not for military use. But we understand well that many of these products are actually dual use in nature, and they can use for commercial purpose, but they can also convert it into military usage. That is why European countries and the United States continue to urge China stop providing any items or products that have potential military functionalities. So that's the first area. The second area is that by working together, they produce extra tensions elsewhere. For example, North Korea continue to test missiles, long-range and ballistic missiles, such that Indo-Pacific countries will be distracted, and that undermines their focus and support for the war in Ukraine. And finally, this country, when they are united, they are also they have started this narrative war game. They have started to project a different, I would say, distorted worldview to the global South, for example, by saying that the U.S. or the market-based model is not the only option available. Development models can be equally successful based on the so-called Chinese model or even the Russia model. And they are encouraging global South countries by providing an alternative worldview, an alternative global rules-based order, based on China and Russia's rules and their worldviews. So I think that's the three areas where, in which the alliance between these authoritarian regimes do produce direct and explicit impacts on the collective efforts to deter Russia and later on China from crossing the red lines and initiate all these unjustified military conflicts.
You have already mentioned the economic influence or the economic independence. Economic dependence from democratic countries. But should these regions also come closer together in the military field to secure our commercial line of communications?
I think the answer is absolutely important, critical to create mechanisms to, first of all, make all democratic, like-minded partners more cohesive and more coordinated in policy thinking, in decision-making, and also in military and economic plannings. Right. Now, with multiple conflicts taking place globally, I think one thing is certain, that major powers and leaders in our democratic camps, especially United States, there is a growing pressure on how to use limited resources in the most efficient way with all these distractions. And the most direct response to this request for efficiency is through coordination and dialogues. So because through dialogues and coordination, you reduce repetitions, you reduce extra works that shouldn't be introduced if we know what other partners has been doing. And that is the best way and the most efficient way to increase efficiency. So I think with these multiple conflicts that are already took place or actually with the likelihood of happening in the future, coordination and conversation, cooperation among like-minded countries become even more important in the foreseeable future.
Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.